The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast are those of the host/guest and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any of BXR entities and those they represent.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Nate, host of the Artist Exchange radio show, here live on BeExposedRadio.com only. Today we have a continuation of our last two interviews for The Gospel Truth. This is part 3. We have 2 more castmates joining me today, Miss Fela Langston and Mr. Rob Mercer. We'll be interviewing them in just a few moments. First of all, I want to say thank you to everybody that continues to support the show. Please like, share, subscribe. Go to our website, www.beexposedradio.com and beexposedmedia.com to check out all the latest music. If you are a music artist, as we have today, please submit your music. We play your clips of your performance, music videos. I haven't heard it in such long. Music videos on our podcast as well. So submit those and we'll be glad to help support your music and your art and such. And don't forget, here, I'm actually in the middle of my art studio. So if you are an artist or a maker or entrepreneur and you want to create a way to promote or market your brand, your products, your services, join us every Saturday from 11 until 6 for a pop-up. If you are interested in having your own pop-up, please stop by. We have a number of authors, jewelry designers. We have a culinary artist coming next weekend. This weekend we have an artist out of Philadelphia, Mr. Hakeem Stokes. He is an author of plenty books, and I'm sure he'll bring a couple authors down with him as well. And they'll be doing their pop-up. So we have a pop-up series each Saturday here at the Vashta Blue Jewelry Studio, 1734 Maryland Avenue, right between Mount Vernon and Charles Village. So come on down. Even if you're not an artist, come on down and support the artists that are here. It's our way of kind of helping and supporting artists to come out of this pandemic, because for many of us, it's been a difficult journey. But without further ado, I'm about to welcome on my guests. I'll be taking part in a play called The Gospel Truth, directed by Miss Katrina Jones. And this is my first play back since the pandemic. Actually, one of the last plays at Arena Players was Pearly, which I was in, and Katrina played my wife. So I have joined on the cast, and it's kind of like a live radio performance. And we have some phenomenal singers joining us. I haven't heard one bad note. So come on out and hear the gospel truth. And our first guest that I'm gonna bring on is Miss Fela Langston.
Hey.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am great, and we also have Mr. Rob Mercer joining us as well. So first of all, Miss Fela, please introduce yourself. Let us know a little bit about you, and then we can jump right over to Mr. Mercer.
Okay, like you said, my name is Fela. I also go by Adia because I'm named after my mother. We have the same first name, so I'll take either one. I am 26. I'm currently a grad student at UMBC in their public policy program. So graduated in December, thankfully.
Okay.
What else can I share? I like to draw, I like to paint, I like singing. I also have a Bachelor of Music and a Bachelor of Political Science. So I'm into a lot of different things, really.
So she's gonna be champion for the artist rights soon, possibly. And Mr. Rob?
Hello, Nate and Fela. Yes, my name is Rob Mercer. I'm originally from Florida, but I've been in the DMV area for 20 years or so now. So
You
I,
home. You home.
I call this home as exactly. So yeah, I specialize in between doing music at church and doing my solo and also music career with my brothers, Dark to Light, sporting our shirt today. And also I work in, I'm very passionate about education. So I work for the federal government with the HBCU program. So I'm currently the lead director of that program, giving out grants and loans to our schools. So that's where my passions and everything lie at this moment. So that's who I am.
Well, he gonna help us get rid of these school loans, Fela. And if he hasn't told us that, that's gonna be his gift. So it's been an interesting. I've been to a couple of rehearsals so far, and it's really interesting to see the collection of people. We have some old school quartet style, some Pentecostal style. I got to listen to Mr. Rob last night, bringing that contemporary blend. I can't wait to hear Fela, and maybe Fela give us a little taste today. You never know. You never know. No pressure. No pressure. But it's been an interesting journey watching you all. So this play it's not necessarily a church play, but we are performing. Well, they are performing. I'm giving my voice a break. And when I say incredible singers, some great personalities, and you'll get to know a little bit about them as well. In terms of being singers, I'll start with you, Fela. When did it hit you? When did you know that you had this talent?
Well, it probably started, I was about 6 years old. My mother got me an Aretha Franklin CD for Christmas. It was like a greatest hit CD or something like that. And apparently I was singing along to like all the songs in the car. That was like my favorite CD. I would ask my grandmother I would make them sit on the couch and I would say, oh, watch me perform and sing this song. So by the time I was like 9 and I was still doing it, my mother was like, oh, she might be really interested in this. So I started taking voice lessons with Janice Jackson at the Nathan Carter School of Music. And that's pretty much where I started.
Cool. And beyond that, was it you just tried every other art form as you got older, or was it just a natural progression?
It really was mainly singing. The middle school that I was at, I didn't have a chance to be in choir there, so I wasn't really like singing in public too much other than my voice lessons until I got to high school. And then I figured out that I could draw when I was like 17. So it was just me like picking things up and saying, I wonder if I can do this. But then with theater, I wasn't in a musical until my senior year of college. So 2018 was my first musical.
Oh, wow. Most people, they kind of dibble dabble in it.
I was shy.
Oh,
I was so shy.
And it is something that breaks people out of that shell as well. So it probably was a good tool, being as though your senior year going into college. How about you, Rob? When did you know the voice was there?
I think my mom saw it in me first, around the age of 4 or 5 years old. And next thing I know, I was just singing everywhere. And I was like, oh, I guess I can sing. And she recently, on my last birthday, she showed me this program. Apparently I was 5 years old and I did a full concert. Like I was looking at the list of songs like, wow, like singing songs like the old Hawkins stuff. Like, I'm like, who put together this list? But yeah, so
y'all both jumped out the gate. Aretha, the Hawkins, like y'all both jumped out there.
I guess so, yeah, man. So yeah, and I've just from that point on, I fell in love with the gift of music. I ended up going to the School of Arts in Florida, so I fell in love with all of the arts.
Was that high school or
that was
younger school?
Yes, that was high school. That was starting in 9th grade. Yes.
Okay. And that being at an art school, was it all art, or did you have other interests outside of being a performing artist?
No, it was all art. It was acting, show choir, dancing, although I wasn't that good in dancing. But yeah, it was all arts.
So in terms of doing theater, was that ever a thought for you, or were you like tunnel vision into singing?
I enjoyed theater. Like I did it in high school. But like my main focus, my main passion was singing. Yeah, so I didn't really pursue it. Although when I did it, I loved it. So it was interesting that I didn't, yeah, it just wasn't I guess the passion that really drove me. So.
Right. It has to be something that you want to do. It can't be something you just try because it's too time consuming to really play with it. I'm reading, as I read through your bio, Rob, you've traveled, was it backup singing or music direction with various artists?
So my traveling has been kind of wild, man, because I first went to South Africa because a friend of mine was over there just studying abroad, and he was working with, as part of his internship, he was working with a group of students in Johannesburg who were the Adia performing arts students who were extremely talented. And he got the director of the program to send for me to come do a workshop on gospel music. Like, it's such a blessing because I'm no big name. So, and that's how it started. And I went over, I did that workshop. Okay. And from there, I've just passed along my music and my resume. And I've been able to go to Africa a couple of more times. And then another friend of mine passed along my music to a producer in Australia. And I got a chance to go over there and record and do some things. So I've really been blessed just from friends saying, hey, my boy can do this. You all should have him. So it's been crazy.
Were you, so in terms of you now putting your focus, you're in a group now, what made you make it your profession?
I got to a point, I was doing solo gospel music. And to be honest, I got really frustrated with the industry. And I was saying, God has already blessed me. I've done things beyond what I could have imagined anyway. I've done concerts with my name overseas that I never thought of without any backing from like a record company or anything. So I don't feel like doing this fight with the American music industry. So I planned it was like 2015. I was like, that's it. I'm not doing anything. And then my brothers from Dark Delight, Javon Emmett and C.D. Porter, they came with me. Last time I went to Africa to do a concert in Gambia, I invited them. And they came and we had such a great time. The chemistry of our vocals, everything went so well that when Javon said, hey, maybe we should form a group, it reignited something in me, that whole passion for doing industry work. And like, it just felt better as a part of a group than having to go through the fight as a solo artist, because it's a lot of work in the industry, from radio to promotion to marketing to everything. There's a lot of work, and just because it's gospel music doesn't mean there's no work. Like, faith without works is dead. So you got to get out there and grind. And so the grind felt better as a group. So that's reignited my passion.
For you, Fela, are you embarking on a music career, or are you just doing it as it comes at this point?
I'm still figuring it out. It's kind of as it comes. To be honest, when I was younger, I don't think I really planned too far past college. When I found out you could go to school for music, I said, oh, that's what I'm doing. I know that. So I got there, and then I think I just once I was in a musical, I was like, well, musicals are cool. When I graduated, I made sure that I was auditioning for things in the area. I also went to school in North Carolina, so coming back home to Baltimore, I was like trying to figure out just where I could do shows, where I could perform, because I hadn't been home in a few years. So I'm still, and then the pandemic, I was out of school for a year and a half when the pandemic started. So I'm still really figuring that out.
So, but you've been able to navigate this, like really your college career during the pandemic. What did that feel like outside of being an artist and being a student? What did that feel like?
Because I graduated in 2018 from undergrad, and then I was home for about a year. I wasn't really doing much musically until like that summer. It was really, really hard to go from I was if I wasn't in a show, I was probably auditioning for something. So it was really hard to go from being able to find opportunities. I think I had like one of my first paid singing opportunities, like not my first, but my first since college, like 3 weeks before everything shut down. So it was really hard for me to say, like, I'm home, I'm finally like, getting to do things in the arts, and then everything just shut down. So it was definitely hard coming out of that, but I'm glad that, the opportunities they're still here. It was rough. So, but I've always been interested in kind of balancing my time. Like I said, my majors were in.
So being as though you.
It's breaking up. I was saying I have always really liked to kind of balance my time too. So I majored in political science and music. So finding the balance has always kind of been what I wanted to do, I think.
So navigating that career, going into the educational field, learning the craft, the technique, what was that? Explain that, because most people, it's a big difference between this is what you've always wanted to do and you find a way to do it versus, going the educational route where you're learning the foundation and the technique of it. Do you regret doing that, or was that really helpful to you learning the talent? I
don't regret it because I wasn't really, no one on my mother's side is really musically inclined. My mother likes to sing, love her, but nobody around me was really singing, which is why my mother, when she found out about like voice lessons, that was what she put me in. And outside of that, I wasn't singing with other people growing up until 9th grade when I went to Western. I was in the choir. And there were things that, like, as my choir director was telling me, she was like, oh, we're in like this key. I didn't know what she was talking about. So even like the ear training aspect, there were so many things I just didn't understand because I didn't grow up around music in that way. Going to school for it really, really made a big difference for me because I learned, not that I can play piano that well, but I just developed a better foundational understanding of everything that I didn't get just being around music growing up. So I'm a lot more confident now.
Do you write as well?
No, I tried. Some years ago, I tried, but no.
It something like that. It comes if it's supposed to hit you. It'll definitely come. For you, Rob, did you ever go to school for it, or was it? I know you went to the School of Arts, but beyond that, did you seek higher education in that skill set?
I did not. I was heavily involved with the music department. I went to Hampton University, so I was involved in concert choir. I was officer in concert choir. I was over the gospel choir. I took music theory classes, but it was never a major. So yeah.
But that typically, that's another form of education, choir, whether it be in church or in school. That's typically how a lot of people get started or kind of sharpen that tool as well. I think that's a great way. That's kind of how I got introduced to music, always been on choirs. And I think you learn a lot more even on the technical side, especially if you have a good director when you do it that way. And in terms of, I'm gonna transition a little bit. In terms of this pandemic, being a creative, how did it stop you? Because you have been traveling a lot. So how did that hurt you or help you going through this pandemic?
It slowed some things down because the group Dr. Light, we were just about to like take off.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had to sort of pivot. So we decided to just get in the studio, and we started recording music. And I was also doing a lot of stuff online. Like I was doing a lot of just performances, just putting some things out there, testing out some music. And one thing I'm thankful for, because I had to take a break from singing at church every Sunday, I got my voice back to 100%. So that was, that was kind of like, yo, thank you, Jesus. Because I wasn't having to teach choir rehearsals and lead praise and worship and do all those things. That was actually a blessing. And I've been able to sustain that. So God just showed me some different techniques to do in terms of my singing to help sustain myself. So the pandemic, yes, it stopped a few things, but I'm also grateful for just for some different moves I was able to make. So I was able to learn through the process. And all of that turned out to be beneficial for me.
So we're going to take a quick commercial break. I'm having some technical issues, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on the Artist Exchange Radio Show, only on BeExposedRadio.com. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Yeah, so my name is Tevin Brown. I'm 30 years old. I'm born and bred in Baltimore, Maryland.
30? Wow.
Yeah.
Old.
I guess so. You're older than me, though, so,
Wow.
Hey,
I was congratulating you.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. Well, I appreciate it. But yeah, I'm born in Baltimore. I'm a music teacher, so I teach music for a grade 6 to 12 at Ace Academy in Hampton. Yeah.
I'm gonna pray for you, sir.
Yeah, and I'm also a minister of music at Mount Hebron Baptist Church. I've been there for 5 years. And, in addition to that, I just do gigs from time to time. I have a band that I play with. And I also do some solo work. So really whatever comes.
I first met...
Got it bumping. I get high, and you been heavy on my mind. Baby, you ain't too damn fine. Not to let me hit it one time. I thought if I can get that back, then I can find a way to make you mine. But you know only fuck because I had drugs. I'm thankful for the drugs, so I just don't want to. I end up walking out just for one thing.
First. Welcome back to the Artist Exchange Radio Show. I had to do a little switcheroo, little technical issues, But we're back here on the Artist Exchange Radio Show. We have two performers, two singers from the play The Gospel Truth, that's opening up at the Arena Playhouse May 20th, and it runs for 2 weekends. I'll be joining the cast on the second weekend. So we have a phenomenal lineup of singers, and we have two of those singers, Mr. Rob Mercer and Fela Langston, joining us. And we were just talking a little bit about that transition out of the pandemic. Rob, you finished off saying you got your voice back, I guess because of the break you were taking. So how did you pivot in terms of, I know you said you spent some time in the studio, but how did you prepare yourself to come back, or how have you been preparing yourself to come back?
Mine was really smooth. I just simply had to transition back into my weekend activities with the church and with the group. So I really only had like a 6-month break, and then 6 to 8 month break, and then we started back up singing at churches, and just it was different, but I didn't think it was anything too difficult. And like I said, I'm probably one of the few ones who I enjoyed those 6 to 8 months that I had to just prepare and do studio work and write music with my brothers and record. I enjoyed that break. So yeah, it was pretty smooth.
For you, Fela, in terms of working, being an artist, how did you pivot in that pandemic time, or coming out of it now, really?
I think what was probably like the biggest change that I needed to make was that I started grad school. I started grad school like 2 months before the pandemic started. So I would have been taking kind of an intentional break from at least like musicals, because I thought I didn't want to do some. I just didn't want to stress myself out. But I don't know. I don't even know how I ended up like performing again. It was, I think maybe Tamba from Tamba. I think Tamba reached out to me again, and I was like, I mean, I have class. I was in school full time, and then I was working full time, so there was a lot going on. But as far as like, I guess getting myself ready, I was singing all the time. I mean, the good thing about singing is you can do it whenever. So yeah. I feel like I really took a lot of time to just listen to my voice more, and get even more comfortable with my voice. So that I think being home most of the time was actually really good for me, because it was like a natural practice. So
how did both of you all capture that virtual learning that we all had to do, where we were learning how to be engineers and sound techs and lighting techs? Did you pick up those skills as well, either of you?
Probably not.
Just a simple Zoom, that was it. How about you, Rob?
I sort of let other people do it. So like if I had to perform virtually, I let other people who know how to do that stuff, like, yo, set me up so that I can just sing and be out. So that's what that's a lot of times what I did.
That's a blessing. That's a blessing. A lot of us were forced to like struggle through it. I know I had to learn how to do the things that my engineer typically did, even when I did other events. Did you do any virtual events? I'm sorry, did I cut you off, Fela?
That's fine. I was saying I did like a virtual choir thing. Okay. All I had to do was sing into my phone, and I said, y'all get it together. But
y'all blessed, because a lot of artists, we had to learn the whole struggle of it all. And it really opened us up to a whole new platform of people, and really an international group of people. So probably more people saw you than would typically see you in any one event that you would do. So that was the part that I loved about it, because I got to meet people literally around the world from some events. Moving past this pandemic, what are some of your plans in moving forward?
Are you talking musically?
Musically or not, we can straddle that fence.
Musically, I've moved into writing storyboards. Like, so for all of my group's videos so far, like God has ignited this thing with me just writing storyboards. Like, I'm a big, even though I didn't pursue acting, I used to always go to New York, watch Broadway like all the time. And so that was always a part of me. So I have friends now who are actually on Broadway, and I got together with them virtually, at least one of them virtually. And yeah, so that's been the big thing for me, and like for our videos. And I'm really excited about the next one's coming out, because I wrote this whole elaborate story. It's like a concept video that you used to see like Michael Jackson and those type of artists do. So that's really what's on the horizon for me. Just writing more for some more of our singles that are going to be released, and also traveling. Like, I'm real passionate about traveling, even when I'm not singing. So I've been setting up a lot of trips outside of our, when I don't have to sing with the group. I'm trying to travel as much as I can.
What's the dynamic? What's the difference for you being in a group versus being solo? I know you said it was a little bit more pressure off of you, but that dynamic of planning for three versus just for you.
Yeah, so it's like, I mean, if you've been in a relationship, it's sort of like the same thing. Like, you can't just think about yourself. You have to plan around what the group is doing, because in terms of music and the arts, like, that's my number one priority is the group. So I always give that precedence on my calendar. And so for instance, this play, The Gospel Truth, we didn't have anything those weekends, so I decided to do it.
Okay. And how do you choose? Because often, when you have a group, it's kind of a sticky situation when someone wants to do something solo. And I'm starting to see more and more artists be able to do that. I know musicians in general are good at, being in multiple things, but what happens when you want to do something solo? How do you plan around that? Or is that your goal at all?
Yeah, I'm not I think because I did solo stuff for so many years, like, I'm not like out here, oh my gosh, I want to do something solo. Like, I really want to do as much as I can with the group. But if I see an opportunity where, like, the group can't do this, but this seemed like a special event, I'll just run it by the group. Hey fellas, I'm thinking about trying out for such and such play or this. And like, we're really like brothers. Like, it's really, if the calendar is free, like, they're gonna be like, yo man, go for it, or when is it so we can come? Like, it's that sort of thing. And I'm the same way with them. So I'm thankful to God for the situation, because it's really been just smooth sailing.
I think you need to teach a class, because I don't typically hear these smooth stories about groups and working together in that way. For you, Fela, have you thought about being in a group, or would you prefer to keep it solo for right now?
I'll be interested in singing in a group. I mean, singing with other people is really an amazing experience. So definitely something I'll be interested in.
In terms of have you done any band work in terms of putting together a band, or is it just gig to gig right now?
The closest I've ever done to putting together a band was me trying to get my my friends to sing on the announcements in 3rd grade. So it's the closest I did.
So I'm gonna transition into like the business of it. For you, Fela, how have you learned about the business? I know the business gave you a little strife in the beginning, but what have you learned from that ordeal, and how are you now learning how to navigate the business side of what you do?
I would honestly say that that's something that I don't really know much about. Like I said, I was shy. Like it took me a very long time to like really come out of my shell, and I feel like I was just getting there. Like I said, I had a paid gig right before the pandemic. And so I feel like I'm getting back into me getting out of my shell. So there's still more to learn.
And you're still in school, so you're kind of pacing yourself, which is I think is the best route. Many people try to, go full force. And for me, I wish when I was younger, like in my early 20s, I would have did that. But college can sometimes be a lot. It's its own environment. So I would say get that education, get that background. Because as an artist, sometimes you gotta pick up a job when it's a pandemic or when it's a slow time. But for you, Rob, where are you with the business of it?
I take the business very seriously. When I first started, I didn't, but now I take it really serious. And for me, it's really about two things. Networking so that I build good relationships and staying on top of those relationships, not just bothering people when I want something or I'm pursuing things musically, but just maintaining good relationships and saving money. Like those are like my two, I guess you can kind of make it three, the things that like I live by when it comes by the business of music, because I'm finding out that if you want to progress, like you need money, you need to network, and then you need to work those relationships, like genuine relationships.
And I hear this differently from depending on what artists I'm talking to, but what is the major difference between the gospel music realm and everything else?
There is no difference.
Okay.
Gospel music is ministry, but the gospel music industry is secular. It's still business. And I think a lot of people, if I understood that in the beginning, I don't think I would have gotten so frustrated with the industry. You have to know that even with the gospel music industry, it's secular. It's built on business. So once you understand that, then when certain things happen a certain way or somebody says something like out of side of their neck, you're like, what? So like, it's still, it's business.
I just watched the interview with CeCe Winans, and she said that's what happened to her and her brother when they were younger. They just assumed everybody was from the church. She said, but once they got out of the home and started doing it professionally, they realized not everybody loves the Lord the way they did. So I guess that's the balance that you have to straddle. Being a gospel artist or inspirational artist, you have to kind of navigate in a different way or in both fields simultaneously. For you, I was reading your bio, Fela, and it mentioned that you were new to gospel music in terms of that being a genre that you sing in. What made you shift over to singing gospel?
I mean, I've always loved singing it. It's really being a solo, singing a gospel song, that is new. So where I really started to love gospel music was in choir in high school. We did like a decent mix of songs. But in the after school choir, we were usually singing a lot of gospel. So that's really where I started to just be more interested in it. But I did not want to sing the solos. And then my college didn't really have a gospel choir. So a few of my friends, we like revived it basically. And then we kind of grew it while we were there. So it's something that like most of my musical experiences, interested in through school, and glad that I was exposed to it. Miss Katrina asked me to sing in this show, and I was like, Katrina, I sing in gospel in choir. And she said, well, Fela, just give it a try.
Where did you go for undergrad?
It's Salem College. It's a women's college in North Carolina.
Okay. Is that Winston-Salem University?
It's down the street.
Okay, they two separate ones. So that's where you went to school. That's a really quiet neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
I'm being political about it, but I thought I wanted to go there, but it felt too quiet. Too quiet.
It was right for me. I was at Towson my first year.
Okay.
I did not. Towson was not for me. It was way too big. I was down the street from my mother's house, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I really just, like I said, I was shy. I needed to like get out of my comfort zone. And even though it was still quiet, I was far from home. I was basically by myself, but I still was in. Yeah, and it's a smaller school, so like it was exactly what I needed.
And it's weird how certain environments work better for other people than they do. I needed to be city life because that's where I thought I was, and I was like, I saw people sitting on the porch swinging. I was like, this is. I need some birds or some ambulance sounds, something in the neighborhood. But it's interesting how your career is forcing you to take your time. Yeah. And I think that's seasoning you to a space where when you do make that jump, you're going to be ready because you're picking up all these things as you go along.
Yeah.
And for you, Rob, what scares you about this industry, or not just the industry, but just this profession, this career path?
Man, to be honest, nothing's at the moment. I can't think of anything that scares me. I can't think. We had an opportunity last year in October to sing in front of some major gospel artists, and I got a little nervous. But I mean, in terms of, but I was excited, so it wasn't like a fear. It was just a nervous excitement. But like, I think my hope, I'll put it like that. My hope is that every artist that comes out, especially in the gospel field, would be authentic to who they are as a musician and to their music. I think if they do that, that'll just make the industry so much better. And it probably even beyond gospel music, like whatever your field is in music, like if we need to see you, like we have enough of other people who have come before you, be authentic. And I think that resonates with people and people love that. And so that is my hope. I would say that's my hope for the industry.
How do you classify yourself? I know in your, when we rehearsed last night, you leaned on the contemporary side, but how would you define yourself? That's an industry term, but how would you define yourself?
Man, I'm a very eclectic gospel artist. For this play, of course, I tried to pick a song that I thought would mesh with the area and what Katrina told me, like the crowd may be like, but I'm very eclectic. Like our last single is straight rock. Like we had some push back with some radio stations, gospel radio stations, because they were like, yeah, this song has too much guitar, but it's straight rock. But, you know, the lyrics are straight gospel, and I love the song. I think it could have been, it did well on the charts, but I think it could have gone far and beyond. But like, that was the pushback, but I loved it. So yeah, I'm real eclectic. I can do that. And then like, I can also get super excited about a jazz arrangement of a hymn. So like, my thoughts musically, I just love music. As long as the message or the lyrics sort of marry the melody so that they're not competing. I don't care what the melody may sound like. Let's do it. So yeah, I'm a very eclectic gospel artist.
Some of my favorite gospel inspirational singers push the envelope. You know, the Clark sisters, they used a lot of non-traditional or non-gospel melodies or
Yes.
samples. We just watched the versus battle between Murray and CC Winans and BP Winans, and they both were very non-traditional, kind of, you know, considered compared to today. They were rebels at that time. So putting certain music out or not having certain verbiage in that music, it really made them straddle. But I love today where you have gospel trap music, gospel rock music, you know, Christian rock, you know, everything has variations or different elements in it. You mentioned last night you love Stevie Wonder, who is definitely anchored in his belief, but his music is just so colorful in terms of his inspirations. Fela, have you settled on a genre, or are you going to be as open yourself?
I'm pretty open. Like I said, classically trained, but even in my classical program, I was singing jazz. So
Okay.
I'm open.
Okay. Is that so? Who are your inspirations in terms of singers?
Well, when I was younger, definitely Aretha Franklin. Even though I would not at all say that I sing like Aretha Franklin, that would be a blessing. But no.
Are you courageous enough to try one of her songs?
You know, I got asked this in rehearsal, and I was like, I don't know. I could do a little bit, but
okay. Which one sticks out to you the most?
My favorite song by her is probably "Ain't No Way."
Okay. So I mean, one day maybe we'll hear you sing a little "Ain't No Way." You know, that's a little. How would you classify your style, or if you had to choose a style, even if it overlaps other things, what would you choose?
Well, what I hear from other people the most is kind of like jazz.
Okay.
So probably that.
Any jazz singers that stick out to you that you kind of lend yourself to in terms of learning or absorbing?
Like probably in high school, I was listening to like Billie Holiday, Ella Fitzgerald, you know, classic singers. Right now I'm into Jasmine Sullivan. I like Yeba, those kind of, I mean, I was always into like Erykah Badu, Lauryn Hill, those kind of singers.
As listening to you talk, that made me, Nancy Wilson name just jumped out my head. She's one of my favorite jazz singers, but I always love to hear her live because she would incorporate gospel as well. So it's interesting to hear jazz and gospel kind of fuse itself. It's an interesting, I mean, they kind of almost the same. Just the verbiage, intentions, sometimes a little different, but I love hearing people who were inspired. Some of my favorite artists are rooted in their faith and church, but they sung other things. The Whitney Houstons, the Aretha Franklins. I just love hearing that sound transform into other things. Fantasia is one of my favorite singers, so no matter what they sing, you hear that choir, that tone, that faith in their voice. Rob, do you feel the need to not need, I shouldn't ask it that way. Did you ever feel the need to choose in terms of your style? Did you ever feel that pressure to sing certain songs or have certain verbiage now that you're writing your music as well?
Yes, I did. When I first started, I was trying to sing stuff that my family and mainly like my family will want me to sing, just based on how we grew up. And I really had to, I wrote a song that I never released it. I wrote it for me. And it was basically talking about coming off the stage, meaning like, I'm not going to act, like I'm not going to perform for others anymore.
Right.
I'm going to sing songs that are really me and that bring me enjoyment, and are true to who I am. You know, I was just talking about authenticity. So I had to make that transition. And ever since I did that, my music career has been liberating. So
you don't feel that pressure to conform or to please others.
Exactly.
That could be hard for anybody, especially for artists where your job is whatever your product or service is or your skill, giving it to the people. Is a strong-willed person that can do what comes naturally, but know how to cater to individuals. Fela, I just asked Rob a few minutes ago, what scares you about this possible career or this career path, if anything scares you?
Really my own insecurity sometimes, or just my own, like I said, I've been so shy growing up. And I know that a lot of the time what was in my way was really me. And I was talking to somebody the other day about how I feel a shift in my mind about the way that I see, even the way I see everything, singing, talking to other people. Like it's really just making sure that I'm in a good mental space where I can really just give my all, and not hold back.
Was it public speaking, or was it just speaking in front of people, or performing in front of people?
Transparently, I was teased a lot growing up, for my hair, for my skin. So I think like it was for me to be figuring out that I love to sing around the same time that I was getting teased. I was like, I just did not want to really talk to people too much. If there was an opportunity to sing, I would do it. Like if I went to like a summer camp when I was like 11, and they had like karaoke. So me, the person I would never talk to anybody, really just stay to myself. I would read a book. They said, yeah, we want somebody to sing. I said, I'll sing. And that was me like growing up always. In high school, I didn't really talk to many people. People didn't find out I could sing until I was on stage one day. So I think it was really just like, I guess, fear of judgment. Because I was getting teased a lot. And so again, of course, as I got older, that wasn't an issue. So my confidence grew in other places, and that allowed me to just get more comfortable being on stage.
We're going to talk a little bit more with Rob and Fela when we return. We got a couple more minutes with them, and we're going to take another quick commercial break. We'll be right back here on the Artist Exchange Radio Show. Maybe one of them may feel something on their soul to sing. I don't know. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
I've always been an open book, and it was time to write the story that God has been preparing me to share. Dear Tombstone is a glimpse into all of the hardest things that I've dealt with and that were sent to kill me, deter me, and delay me from fulfilling my purpose that God has set over my life. Is a journey down memory lane for me, but hopefully it encourages you to tell your story. It's now available on Amazon.
It's a problem when you don't take the time that's normally dedicated to others and you make that about you. Now you're narcissistic. Now you are, conceited. Now you
selfish.
You're selfish. And my pastor told me a long time ago, you're in a selfish season. And my selfish season has been prolonged so long because I would still go against that and go against my better judgment and my needs to make sure other people had it together. And it's just doing something to me. Like it really is affecting me mentally right now because I am I'm seeing how people are addressing a lot of these mainly like celebrity issues, but that trickles down to how we deal with each other. It really, I don't understand how somebody has never portrayed this type of behavior before. And they begin to do they did this one thing once, or they began to do this, and all of a sudden, yes, they've changed, but
right.
have built up some type of trust in you where you like, something else got to be going on for him to do something like this. It's instantly, and it in this incident with Will Smith, one, I want the white people to shut the fuck up. Just shut up. We don't care how you feel. We understand that this was your club for so long, and Will Packard has got into this and made it something totally different. I get it. But I am looking at the ones that look like us, the Wanda Sykes, many of the comedians, if not all of them, who has taken this selfish route because they can't pivot themselves. They can't think of anything that's not disrespecting somebody else. And telling a joke about somebody who came to a comedy club to laugh is wrong. Like that's just Will Smith came there that day to win an award, not visit a comedy show.
Right.
That's just where it is, and it's just.
So happy to see one of my Beats Host family members today. I want to get back on the station, but I definitely want to run my ad for my business on Be Exposed Radio. They are attached to so many different businesses and great entities here in the city. If you have a business, you definitely want to put your business out there, commercial, shout out, anything, and sponsor one of the great shows that's on Be Exposed Radio.
Welcome back to the Artist Exchange Radio Show here live only on BigExposedRadio.com. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, on Facebook, a little bit on Twitter. I talk too much on Twitter. At the Artist Exchange, we have a number of events coming up throughout the summer. If you have a young person that has an entrepreneurial spirit, definitely send them to the Artist Exchange Radio Show at gmail.com. We'll be doing a fellowship with 10 students this summer, maybe 12. We are still working on space. But if you have a young person that has a flair for entrepreneurship, whether they be an artist or they have a product or service or a skill set that you want to bring out of them, we'll be doing a fellowship over the summer, with about 10 students right now. We have about 6 signed up so far, but we're looking for a few more. So send them to the Artist Exchange Radio Show at gmail.com. Myself, Love for Moms, and Baltimore Fashion Week will be working with a number of students this summer. So hit us up. We're back. We have 2 artists from the Gospel Truth. Opening at Arena Players, the oldest continuously operating Black theater, community theater in the United States. This May the 20th, my birthday weekend, so get them presents together, people. But we will be opening up with these 2 phenomenal guests. We have Miss Fela Langston, and we have Mr. Rob Mercer. I'm thankful that you all took some time out to come join us today. Can y'all, real quick before I ask my last 2 questions, can you tell people where they can find your music, where they can book you, how they can send you some donations if they choose to? We'll start with Rob. I think he's.
You can find me through Dark to Light Music. So that's DRK, the number 2, LGHT. So it's Dark to Light, no vowels. Everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Gmail. If you want to try to book me or the group, again, Dark Light Music at gmail.com. And we'll be glad and excited to come worship with you or sing for an event, special occasion, would be more than happy to do that.
Paid, of course. Miss Fela?
Things like this always remind me I need to change my name on social media, but on Instagram and TikTok, my name is Erica.Badon. So spelled like Erica Badu, it's just Badon.
So we were coming off of you, Fela, and speaking a lot about, going through some transitions and kind of learning that confidence. What did you learn about yourself as you are coming out of that and matriculating into adulthood, in terms of going through the craziness that is being a teenager and being surrounded? You went to Western, so going to a big old campus full of young ladies. What have you learned about yourself in this time?
For one thing that I feel like I really need to claim is that I'm blessed and I'm talented. That is like
claim it. Reach up and grab it.
That's one of the biggest things that I 10 years ago would not have said. I would have been like, I mean, I can kind of sing. I mean, I'm okay. Like, I'm always looking for validation, that kind of thing. I have really learned that I don't need to seek it from other people. So like that's the big thing. Also, like, along with being blessed, I'm beautiful. I'm wonderfully made. Like, the way that I am is the way that I'm supposed to be. And
you better speak it.
Yes.
I have to accept myself. I have to love myself. And that's what I mean by when I say I'm worried about myself, when it comes to me really putting myself out there, I have to love myself and be mentally strong enough to know that if somebody doesn't like what I do, that's okay, because I love what I do and God loves what I do. So just learning that about myself and really, and I mean, this is like in the past year or two, really, is when I decided that this is how I feel. So I think that's the biggest thing.
You're going to hear this a lot, and I hated hearing it. You're young. It's going to come to you when it's time for you to get it. And if you continue on the path that you're going on, putting yourself in situations where you're learning and you're growing and you're experiencing, those lessons come easier. It's not easy, but it'll be a little bit easier the more you choose you, the more you fill your cup, the more you set boundaries, the more you just make strong decisions like you just did, affirmations. You are enough. And nobody can complete you, nobody can make you, nobody can destroy you. And those are all decisions that you hold. And it's up to you. And you'll hear that. And what I'm hearing from you is you already heard that. Especially, and it needs to come from you as well. Even if it's just you talking to yourself in that mirror until you believe it. That was my strong suit. That and listening to the Alabaster Box my whole life from Miss Cece. For you,
that is what I'm singing.
And when I saw that on the list, I was like, she died. We here. We already. I saw that on your on my list for you all, but. That CD, the CD itself got me through high school, college, adult life. Now in my 30s, it will set you right if you need to get right. For you, Rob, what has been in this experience of a music career and just adulthood? What was one of your biggest lessons that you've learned?
It's kind of piggybacking off of what we were talking about before. What I've learned is just be me. I'm like you just spoke into Fela, like I am enough. Like my gift, what God has blessed me with, it is enough. And God has purposed me to touch lives all across the world. I'll never forget when I first started, I sent my, a lot of times we're so eager. I sent my song to this radio personality who I thought was really bigger than life. Like, if I can just get their approval, I know I'm on the way. And this person listened to my song and said, you don't have to pursue being a national artist. Just being a local artist is enough. And it crushed me for a minute because like I I wanted validation from them, and I didn't get it. And it took me, it was a great lesson for me to learn that the only validation I need comes from within and comes from God. And so that's all you need. And once I learned that, God has done the rest. Like I said, like it's taken my career like literally all over the world. When I went to Australia to sing with their winner of The Voice to do a duet, and that song soared the charts in Australia. That let me know like God is like, yo, I got you. Just put all your trust in me. No one has to know your name. I know your name. So let's go.
We often look at mentors or educators or family, friends, and we seek that type of validation from them. But one of the things I learned, nobody can give you something that they don't have for themselves. And it's not a knock to them, it's not putting them down, but I can't expect for you to give me this upliftment if you have never experienced that, or if you don't feel that in your own life. So I ask my friends questions in terms of my career and my work, but I don't balance my decisions off of that. Anything you can give me is just a new option or a different option for that. That's one of the things I had to learn quick and early. Being a non-traditional, I'm not 6 foot, muscular, light skinned. So me pursuing being an actor or radio personality, that was a difficult challenge for me, but I had to learn how to accept me for who I am and still shine beyond that. But one of my biggest lessons is nobody can give you something that they haven't been given or they don't have for themselves. And that'll keep you from seeking that validation. One of the questions that I ask all my guests at the end is, what advice would you give to your 17-year-old self? And what question would you ask to your 100-year-old self? Now, we're not asking for lottery numbers or where the gold is at the end of the rainbow, but just to soften that blow of life a little bit. You can't change anything, but just to soften it a little bit.
So what was so you say, what question would you
What question would you ask to your 17-year-old self? Because that seems to be the age where the bunny ain't real no more, Santa Claus. So the veil has been lifted in your youthful ignorance mostly. And then 100 is like a pinnacle for people. Like, can I just make it to 100? Or what if I made it to 100? What advice would you ask of your 100-year-old self? And what advice would you give to your 17-year-old self?
I guess if I'm going first, I guess the advice / question I would give to my 17-year-old self would be, do you know who you are? Like, find out who you are.
That's the first time as long as I've been asking that question, that's the first time I've ever heard that.
Yeah, because I'm sitting here thinking that's gonna shape a lot of the decisions and moves that you make. So do you know who you are? Find out who you are.
Was that a question that you did not get at that age? Or?
I did not.
Okay.
I did not. I was just so ready to leave home and explore. Like, I've always had this adventurous personality, but I wasn't prepared. So that question would have prepared me for a lot of things that I faced in college and in my 20s.
So you one of those birds that jumped out of the nest.
Yeah. I kind of I kind of joke with my Christian friends that, like, I'm Peter. Peter is the one that jumped out of the boat, and like he gets a bad rep, but I'm like, that's me. Like, I would have jumped out on the boat and then like question, like, okay, God, why are you asking me to walk on water this way? Why can't we do it this, you know, and the side of drowning? That's me. So knowing who you are,
you know who you are.
Yeah.
That's a meditation. And what advice or question would you ask to your 100-year-old self?
Oh man, that's
and mind you, I'm gonna give you a hint. There are no right or wrong answers. I'll tell you the formula at the Fela answers the question, but there's no right or wrong to this.
The advice I would want for my 100-year-old self is how to navigate, budget, and distribute my finances.
Okay. So how do I budget finances and
so that I can navigate life, you know, properly? Yeah.
Okay. Your turn.
Okay. The 17-year-old one is easy because all the stuff that I shared in the last question, that's pretty much what I would tell myself. Make sure you love yourself. That's something I really had a hard time with. And I feel like a lot of decisions that I'm making as a younger adult, it's a direct reflection of me needing that as a child. So definitely
every I have this theory. Every 5, 7, or 10 years, we are living in the results of decisions that we made 5, 7, or 10 years ago. So we're in a space of cleaning that up in those times. And I don't know what it is about 5, 7, and 10, but it feels like those are the kind of the big moments of time where we're learning, and now we have to live in that decision, and now we're cleaning up.
And one thing I'm glad I always kept a journal since probably junior year of high school. So looking back at the stuff I was saying at 17 and looking at my journals now, I'm like, it's good. I can see the growth. So
did you have the page where you said my rank will be 700 and I'm upset you didn't do that? Okay. I thought it was just me.
And even then I started journal. It was a requirement for English class. So that's how I started.
That's a healthy habit for spirit, for preparation, and just for life in general. That's a great habit to
have. But for the 100-year-old, I think I would ask how to balance everything in life, making sure that I'm financially stable, making sure the people that I love know that I love them and I spend time with them, making sure I'm happy. It really just seems like a lot. So if I could get the answer to that would be great.
No, so the first of all, this is a meditation prompt that I use with a lot of my students for mindfulness training, along with my own personal meditations. And sometimes I'll be so busy in life, but the moment you run into a brick wall, it forces you to slow down. So I try to ask myself this on a random basis, maybe not every day, because you can get too much into your head, but your answers to both of those questions should tell you right now where you are. It should be what you feel right now, because that was your instinctual answer. So those two questions, that's what you may be struggling with, that's what you're facing right now, and that's what you're going through. And it really gives a lot of point of view as to where you are. So when you're going through your going throughs, ask those two questions to yourself. And that's for anybody listening as well. It's something that has really helped me to balance life. That's my friend Tracy in the back. They saw you. But so it tells you a lot about where you are in this moment. And it has made the difference because sometimes you're trying to figure out, you know what the problem is, but you're trying to figure out the why am I going through this, but when you answer those questions, it just tells you that's where you are. And if you ask that question a week from now, you're probably going to get a different answer, depending on having this type of awareness of this moment and now being able to pivot and move forward. But it gives you a lot of insight as to where I'm at right now. And, you know, finances could be, I think that's across the board right now, coming out of everything, being in the middle of inflation and gas prices, the same prices, mortgage and such. But yeah, it's just your insight. So I gift that to everybody I come across because it was gifted to me and it makes a difference. Perspective and knowing where you are, awareness. It helps you to get through those tough times. But late 30s, first of all, sir, it's nobody's business how old I am. But it really does affect us as artists, like just going through life and always asking ourselves a question. I love journaling. I wish I was that dedicated. I wish I was that disciplined to do it on a regular basis, but it does help because you can always go back to a reference point and figure out where the problem started sometimes, where it came from. But I thank you both for joining us. And do either you have a song on your heart or a verse that's maybe on your heart right now that you want to share with the class? If not, they can just show up on the 20th of May. So that's the consensus. So show up on the 20th of May, and I saw him reaching. Did he reach for the button?
No, I was just going to co-sign. Yeah, show up.
He playing with people's hearts now. I thought he was reaching because he had a song on his heart. But go ahead.
No, I was just going to co-sign. Show up on the 20th. Yeah, it's going to be
Playhouse.
Yeah, great event.
One last thing that y'all want to get off your chest, or any advice for people, or anything you want to say as we close out?
Just want to say I appreciate you. I was really nervous about this, and you made it nice and easy. So thank you.
I felt what's about to happen, man. But it's just easy going. No punches thrown. You, sir?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the interview. And so thank you for having me. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure I speak for Fela as well. And Fela, I just want to say to you, I haven't heard you sing yet because we haven't been in the same rehearsals yet, but you definitely have that artist look. Like the whole time, man, she looks like she can sing.
Yeah,
especially when she said what her likes were, jazz and gospel fusion.
Yes.
I'm ready. I'm gonna have to break some plans on a Saturday just so I can get to rehearsal ahead of you. So thank you all for tuning in. Come back next Friday. We got another couple artists joining us. I forgot the date, but next Friday, same time, join us, the Artist Exchange Radio Show, only on BigExposedRadio.com. Thank you, Fela. Thank you, Bob. And their information is in the description below, so you can find them on social media. And peace out, people. Have a great weekend. Enjoy yourself. And don't hurt nobody. Don't hurt nobody out there. Thank you all.